they seem to be, you know, copying some of the trends, right? Lornado has seen a pretty significant rise in popularity. Players like Nuruk over in Europe, for example, they do mighty well with those Lornados, looking really strong. Zelia, of course, to be mentioned there as well. But for this game, guys, we're moving on to game number 2. Sky Temple. That is the first Sky Temple game of the day. And isn't it surprising, Tetra, how some of the maps that we aren't really used to seeing a lot in China, like Towers of Doom, are already being played twice?
It is very interesting. I guess getting it out of the way at the start of the season, it's definitely stranger than we would expect. This, however, is not strange. That is 4 for 4 on White Main Bans now. One day we'll see her, Kendrick. One day.
I mean, they can't always ban her, can they?
We'll find out. But here's a game for us to play. Prediction of the 4 teams left to play today. Which one do you think is going to play the White Main first?
You think we're going to see her at all today? I don't think so. I think they're going to keep banning until the end.
One game, and then they'll immediately start banning her because she'll win. Which team do you think will ban her first? You have the choice of SBT, BTG, A-Team, or RPG.
You know what? I just want to see it played by SBT.
ZJZ? ZZH, sorry?
Yeah, ZZH. Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to be... I'm going to say the A-Team.
There we go.
I think we got it.
A-Team, by the way, playing twice today in the second half of this broadcast, which is pretty cool. Yeah. A-Team, for those of you guys, by the way, let us just mention this before we go back on this draft, right? The A-Team, one of the bottom tier teams of last phase, just beating 3 teams in the playoffs. Looking mighty good all of a sudden.
Pulled an RPG. It was awesome.
Yeah. So definitely keep an eye out for that team. We're going to see them twice later on. They too have, of course, some roster changes. Almost all the Chinese teams, bar SBT and... Who else did change? Is it only SBT?
Apparently it's only SBT because apparently Muggle is not here for the one.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. But back to the draft, guys. 365 back on his Decker Kane. Looked very solid in game number 1. Can't necessarily say the same thing about Karazim. I mean, the idea was there, you know, you wanted to, you know, turn on a lot of aggression onto the enemy team. You wanted to even have a strong punching support like Karazim against a noob rank, who's very vulnerable to auto attacks. But it just didn't work out. The 7-sider had no effect. Yeah. They instead were the ones being aggressed on by CE. So let's see if they can maybe turn the tides, quite literally, with Karazim and his boys.
Larger map today, so we are going to end up seeing a Dahaka instead of Blaze for CE. As we see Hammer banned out here. They already have a Rainer, so they just don't want to deal with that Sergeant Hammer push into the bot lane. I guess those two combined would be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, what do you make of that Maiev ban here, by the way, Tetcher? During both clashes, basically, Western Clash, Eastern Clash, do you think Maiev was picked enough, and did Maiev achieve good enough of results to justify it as a ban?
Yes, Maiev was just good. She was banned pretty much every game.
Right.
So, and the ones she was played in, she played pretty well. Even in the games China didn't win where she was played, they were a little bit less. It was still a little bit it was still very effective against them. Here's that Abatha coming in. Who is a clone target here? So far, no one really. Kinda Hanzo, but not really.
Yeah. I mean, Hanzo is not your traditional target, right? Because normally when you have an Abatha copy, you want... If you go for an auto attack, you want one that normally attacks fast, like Graymin, for example. Sometimes even Sergeant Hammer.
You want a mage, you want someone who can burst.
Yeah, or a mage that can burst.
Comes from the level 1 scatter arrow talent.
Exactly. So maybe we get to see a Jaina. Jaina actually has been completely ignored up to this point, and she used to be one of the most impactful mages that we have in China. None of the other regions were focusing as heavily onto Jaina as China did.
They need a solo laner, though.
That is correct. Malthael?
So, like, Illidan?
Okay.
Alright. This is a very method draft.
Yeah. Method probably wouldn't have picked a support, though, with it. So
it's a melee, though. Still counts.
Yeah.
But, yeah, interesting. So, hat targets, everyone works. Hanzo benefits from the shield. Karazim benefits from the shield and the extra damage. Johanna benefits from the extra damage. Valera, of course, benefits from the extra damage. This is an interesting setup. I don't think CE were expecting this exact design.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tricky to play against a Valeera because, first of all, you're not really expecting her in the draft, right? She did have some appearances on an international stage as well, but she's still not that hero that you have to expect. On the other hand, it's also tricky to play against her in-game because she defies the rules, right? She's an okay solo laner, actually, if you play her correctly. Many people underestimate her in that regard, but she doesn't really play out as that predictable hero. Obviously, she could gank sometimes. Sometimes you would just split push with an Abathur on top of her. So let's see how KT is trying to approach this game.
We'll have to see indeed. When was the last time we saw a Valeera? Was it this weekend?
I can't remember. I'm not sure if I saw a Valeera game this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think we saw it. So it would have to be Western Clash because it wasn't at Eastern.
I definitely remember her at Western Clash when Method pulled it out, and it was pretty good. And then I think we also had teams like Granite Gaming. While I remember there's Samuro, I'm pretty sure they also had a couple of Valeera games. Because they too like that.
Was a while ago.
Yeah, Abathur, no support style. But in China, it's definitely a long while ago. So let's see how Timeless, the creative mastermind of KT here, is actually going to play this out with his boys. Currently down 0-1. Let's see if CE is prepared for that. They have a couple of squishy targets to set both for the Valeera, like Raynor, like Li Ming.
Boom, found it. Literally this weekend, literally 2 days ago, Octalysis versus No Tomorrow. Donezo.
Nice.
And by CE, apparently, against Tempest in the Eastern Clash. But now, though, we jump over to this match, game number 2 on Sky Temple. TWTWT, Kiaru, Lotus, Timeless, and Bad. They are KT.
Of course, we have XTQ, Alufal, Juyu, KTY, and 365 for Challenge on the red-hand side, currently leading 1-0. And also coming into this game, of course, as the pretty significant big favorites. Abathur, by the way, going for the shields up to this point. I'm pretty sure Timeless won't be yelled at this time around.
So, an interesting fact, Valeera has not won a pro game in a month. Exactly a month.
Yeah. No.
It lost from Octalysis. It lost from CE. There was an open division game where it won, but
kill you, though.
KTY is going to KT die as he gets taken out. Turret not enough for the kill. And yeah, exactly 1 month ago, the 27th of the 7th, Team Liquid beat Method with it, which is ironic.
Which is pretty cool, yeah. So XTQ trying to make something happen here against Valeera, but the silence actually in milliseconds really preventing Muradin from even using abilities. So well done. And that, of course, is the power of Valeera, right? You have a gank going here, you have the silence, you have a triple gank actually with Abathur on top of it as well. XTQ now takes 50% off his health. Pretty significant. And yeah, it looks like Valeera is not a classic solo laner. You know, she doesn't stay in lane all the time, but she's rotating around with Abathur, you know, having all the means necessary to actually soak a little bit himself.
Abathur's trying to body soak against the Dahaka. That is so risky, but it's so smart because it baits him into the lane. Baits him far forward, and KTY eats so much damage. Good dash by TWTWT.
Now, Karazim, of course, gets a little low in mana, which is oftentimes a little bit of a problem for him compared to other supports like Malfurion, for example, or Decker Kane. His abilities consume quite a little bit of mana, especially when he spams them a lot. So from heroes like Karazim, you will probably have to take fountains or teleport back to base a little more frequently. So looks like the bottom mercenary battle is completely won by CE. They're even trying to reinforce this a little more with Muradin shuffling around as well, trying to intercept the rotation. But now they're already scuffling away. A little bit of damage done here onto those minions. And they're already doing the bruiser camp now. Both teams, actually.
Let's see if either of them delay it. The first objective hasn't spawned yet, or if they're going to try and push it. Now, there's obviously the game of chicken you can play here, where you try and delay against the opponent's camp instead of against the objective, because obviously the objective is in between these, just sandwiches these lanes. So we are going to not see a delay, it's just that CE take longer. Simple as that. KT not delaying their cap to try and fight under towers against CE.
Up to this point, it looks like Bad on the Valeera is trying to go for this infamous Mutilate build, which seems to be the most viable and most common pick on Valeera these days. So fully relying on the Q, Relentless Strikes level 4 actually reduces the energy cost for it. And of course, at level 7, this is where the first major power spike is hit for Valeera. She will deal extra damage with Mutilate. Look at Raynor, though, taking so much damage, actually has to use his E to get to safety.
And Bad able to play around this pretty effectively. Goes back in. Another silence, but not before the Dwarf Toss came out. It looks like we're just going to see a mid for top trade as CE begin to group up the top lane.
All right. By the way, Tetcher. Oh, look at that sweet damage. Karzim actually going over the wall. TWT needs to go to safety now. The ally actually intercepts the aggro from the fort. That was so well done, well timed. Cool kill. I like it.
He doesn't have He didn't have the extra dash yet from
that's
from
Earth ally to the rescue, though.
That's the one. Yeah, that is cool to see.
All right, in style, KT takes another kill. However, that time is, of course, in the early game, super short, so Li Ming is already back in the fray. So temples are being split right now. It looks like a little more value will go over to CE, though, because they did have their mercenaries in that lane already. So let's see who's actually going to... Oh, none of the forts is actually going to take it out.
Yeah, all forts survive. But like you said, this does gain more value for CE technically due to the fact that top lane is, in theory, the better lane to destroy first. Mid lane gives you more map control. Top lane gives you more end condition because you have that consistent mercenary camp in the top lane, which means you can cap that in time once it's back for the bottom temple to spawn. And if you can do that and clear out your opponents, then you get so much more push potential while that fight is happening that you force someone to react to this. Abathur does neutralize this at least a little bit, but it means he has to spend a little bit more time and burn that mule on top lane as opposed to bot lane, where it's also going to be taking damage.
Tetra, I'm so excited right now to see this Valeera in action, because when you have Mutilate at level 7, this is where your damage is really starting to ramp up, you know, especially when empowered by Abathur. You're going to have an absurd amount of burst damage. The dash range on her Sinister Strike is now, of course, a little bit reduced, but when it connects, it deals more damage thanks to the level 7. So, especially against targets like Decker Kane, like Raynor, like Li Ming, we could see a pretty good focus fire from KT. Let's see if they can actually execute it all the way through. CE, they have yet to look for their first kill of the game, but in terms of structural damage, they're definitely on par with their opponents.
They are. They're looking pretty solid indeed. As we see mid being cleaned up. Zhu going to begin rotating down here on this Li Ming. Wants to burn through this Siege Giant camp as fast as possible as they, once again, protect all your structures. Every single bit of damage done to a structure that isn't a sidewall means more value from the next temple phase your opponent is able to get. So every single one you can protect is value, which is why Mule is so important these days when you have an Abathur on this map.
Yeah, the only hero left in the game with that talent, to be exact. So let's see how that is going to kick in. Also, Raynor once again going for the Exterminator. So that's 2 or 3-0 in favor of that talent. So no ace in the hole, no bonus damage from slowed or stunned targets.
3-0 out of 3 games.
Yeah.
It is no 4-0. Wait, no, it wasn't played in one game.
I think it was 3. Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, we are going to see that mule used onto bot lane. Now, here's the question. How much value can Dahaka get of this push in top lane? Looks like the camp's already been mostly cleaned up, so he's not going to gain the value there. But what can he do in terms of that push? As Valeera finds XTQ, Avatar is immediately dropped.
Yeah.
Valeera's forced back up as KT do not have their level 10 yet, and they no longer have a Hanzo either.
Juyu was actually in point-blank melee range because he realized, you know what, all the threatening targets that could become dangerous for me are focused on someone else, so I'm just going to make sure that I get that kill and I get the reset immediately. And they blew Hanzo to pieces while also maintaining control over that bottom temple, so CE is just skyrocketing that game right now. We see Smoke Bomb, by the way, coming in for Valeera as well, so no Cloak of Shadows, which is, there's always a little bit of a debate going on between Valeera players, right? One Havoc faction, they just say, you know, I'm always going Smoke Bomb. The other half says, you know what, Cloak of Shadow is much better.
So we see an interesting setup, expecting CE to rotate, but CE just stayed grouped up bot lane, so they actually just wasted so much soak time.
Yeah.
Karazim and Valeera did, because they went 7-sided strike, and I think the idea is obviously for Valeera to set up, and Karazim to get the finishing blow. But either way, they did burn some time there. In the meantime, they were able to grab their Bruiser camp. Bruiser camps did only just spawn after Dahaka had already gone bot. If that fight had not started for even longer, they could have made a play. They are. They're making a boss play.
Yeah, they're making a boss play. Of course, Mutilate's bonus damage from Valeera also applies to PvE targets. So that actually makes her a pretty solid boss clearer. And without really CE noticing or caring, they take that boss 7-sided against Bird, and this is the kind of target you want to land it against, and they blow the dwarf to pieces. That was a big play by KT.
Good morning, KT. Nice to have you join us suddenly as they're able to take a 3-1 lead in terms of kills. Grab that boss away. They've got Siege Giants as well, but KTY is dealing with those very effectively. So as long as they can clear out top lane, then they're looking reasonable. Not ahead in any shape or form, but reasonable. And with that mule, they can slowly repair bot lane. So they're going to remove a lot of that value that CE have already got.
Yeah, the fact that XTQ actually died on the Muradin, I think, you know, leads me to the conclusion that they weren't aware of it. Like, at first I was like, okay, they're just giving it up willingly because they are getting stuff done on other parts of the map. But then Muradin actually walking into it, if they had been aware of it, Muradin would have definitely not taken that rotation, right? So I think KCE was basically not expecting KT to go for this bold maneuver, especially with Abathur, who's basically lacking one body. So, however, with that damage coming in from Hanzo and Valera, they just had so much boss clearing speed. That was a really good play by KT.
And as such, there you actually managed to capitalize a bit. They've soaked all 3 lanes. They pushed up a little bit using Abathur Hat in the mid lane, trying to put some pressure onto that fort without actually showing anyone there. Reyna, however, was too on point here. Alufal very much prepared for that kind of push attempt. And now, with once again the Bruisers not respawned yet from their last capture point, we start to see another trade. Mule has not repaired bot lane enough here, so this will go down, but it's way more shots than it should have.
Absolutely true. They're trading forward for forward here. Middle goes down against CE, and a bottom falls against KT. So with CE not really trying to split themselves too much, with the exception of Dehaka, who can very well take care of himself, they should be fine. None of the teams currently looking for aggression, and I think this actually helps KT quite a bit, Tetra, because you mentioned that Mule, you know, several times already. Mule will be able to repair the middle eventually, whereas CE, the damage they take onto structures cannot be mended.
Bad. Able to pull back after dropping some good damage onto the hacker. Ice block. Iron Skin used there by Timeless, keeps himself fine. You can see Blind, by the way, coming in from Valera.
Yeah. Which increases the blind duration of Cheap Shot.
They are able to just quickly burn down the Muradin. Once again, Dragon Arrow comes in from Hanzo as well, but he is not here for the fight. Bad is being forced for a spree. Kiaru is completely zoned out, but he was just the clone. XP is still given.
Okay, so I'll give it to KT. That Kharazim play is already looking so much better than in game 1, right? They always find that isolated Muradin. Oftentimes Muradin players, they they overestimate their own tankiness, let's put it this way, and they sometimes isolate themselves too much. This is exactly where you can put in a nice seven-sided to punish that target. KTY, though, is he actually expecting all that damage coming in from Valera and Abathur? Full Essence heal will make him survive and actually turn things around in his favor.
He's gone for the armor reduction, actually, KTY. Nice knockback, and Bad is gone. Nice rotation from CE.
Absolutely. I think KTY in the beginning, he was completely expecting this, right? So even if he had lost this duel, his teammates probably would have arrived in time to punish Valera. So pretty cool. Yeah, but once again, blind at level 13 to extend the blind duration of Cheap Shot. Against Reyna, of course, that could be very, very useful. Even against a hero like Dehaka sometimes, you definitely want to pick this. Let's see. XTQ trying to make a play here, but Iron Skin too good.
Down goes mid fort. Mule not enough to repair it, because once again, if you're down heroes, then the enemy team just takes fight, especially against an Abathur composition who would not want to burn a ultimate evolution in a 4 versus 5 to begin with. So not ideal. Diamond Skin coming in for lead. I was going to
say the exact same thing, right? Diamond Skin, a situational pick against Valera. I like it.
We're so in sync. It's unreal.
Oh, man. some juicy telepathy going on. I love it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the Diamond Skin, you mentioned exactly the perfect reason. It's purely because of this Valera. Anytime you can get any kind of extra protection to not explode is always welcome.
All right, XTQ and Timeless facing off one another here, the two main tanks. Here comes KTY trying to get a cheeky tongue onto Kiaru on the Valera. Valera actually taking a lot of damage, actually dashing towards the enemy team. I think that must have been a misclick. It was just a copy though, so we're fine for now. But still, the copy wasted like that, you want to get a little bit more value from those normally.
Usually you do indeed. At least they're pushing top lane while this is happening.
Oh,
Valera fights a target and Li Ming gets wrecked.
Okay, it's a 4 versus 4 in terms of raw bodies, but of course Abathur will be there with a hat with the symbiote. So pretty cool to see actually KT fighting and bouncing back pretty hard. It looks like CE just doesn't have enough protection against that double Valera damage now when the copy's up.
Valera is even faster now, even in cloak form with that extra shield, the adrenaline boost from Abatha. They're able to play around.
Contest this Tetcher?
I mean, they should, because right now Johanna's not in position and the boss is already basically dead. So the question is, who's going to be the one to move in to steal it? No one! Timeless with the play. They're moving in. Tornado for the disengage, but Valera is already chasing through. Actually, Valera in a little bit of trouble. He forced to back up. Gets the shield from the Abatha, though. He's going to wait for that stealth. Seven-sided keeps Karazim alive. He does get taken out, though. And now Lotus able to jump away for free.
You know what? That was still a mighty fine play by KT. Although you could argue maybe Karazim didn't really need to die there. He bought his teammates a little bit of time, and even the mercenaries and the boss, he bought time as well. The top defense line's completely being torn down by those bruisers. The boss is going to do his nasty business in the bottom as well. So once again, that was a really cool play. Even Valera and Abatha in unison, they take down Muradin almost completely. So KT, I would actually say by this point in time, Tetra have the upper hand on Sky Temple.
They're definitely trying. They're getting shots on top lane. There's no Mule to repair it. They're going to back up, seeing Mr. Haka coming in. Quick Iron Skins. There's no to the drag. And Mule continues to repair top lane. So they're holding themselves together. They have a full fort lead here.
This is so sick. Just wait until Karazim joins the fray. They might even be able to contest the duration of this top temple a little more. As you said, the Mule brought back the fort, which is so important to keep this temple in check. Timeless
Still
back
die. Top fort goes down. Now what are they going to do with this? Looks like they might look for some kills. Dodges the Stormbolt, dodges the arcade missiles. Timeless.
Oh, it touches the tongue as well. So many abilities going completely whiff here against Johanna on that mighty Frostbolt.
That's going to be the first ability to hit him. He's dodged the Thunderclap, dodges the Stormbolt once again. Timeless getting hit by nothing here.
Just having a nice little ride, you know, on the Wolf, taking him out. Enjoying the fresh air in Sky Temple. Feels good, man. So let's see what they can actually do now. A strong rotation coming in from KT. They do have a little bit of a level lead. They're trying to steal away the Siege Giants from their opponents, and they successfully do so as well. And now if they get a double Giant push going, that bottom lane is going to be occupied for a long time. While Abatha, as we can already see on the minimap, is slowly but surely going to take care of that top lane. So utilizing the globals, utilizing the map objectives, KT looks like a different team in game two.
We're going to see the Bruiser camp getting taken away, and you said it correctly. KT, they're still though, even with all those kills and the nice plays they've made, they haven't managed to turn it into a convincing lead yet. The fallacy is still in this. Is exactly what we would expect to see from a team of the level of CE. But the fact CE losing this early game is obviously not good for them, but they're being outplayed by the composition, but their soak has been on point. The fact their keeps are all still alive is very impressive. Li Ming has did a great reaction earlier on, as did the Haka, to that top lane push, which they're going to have to clean up again.
Yeah, and by the way, we see an interesting talent choice here at level 16 for Decker Kane. We see the Horadric Staff, which is an additional means to maybe take control or keep heroes like Karazim, heroes like Valera at base, so that mini-stun is definitely going to help Decker Kane himself, of course, when he ends up being the focus target, but also a nearby ally in need. So that's really cool to see. Now, speaking of things to see, we're going to see level 20 talents pretty soon. We could see the bottomless flask on the side of Decker Kane, which would basically mean that there's healing even when he ends up falling against that Valera Abatha on slot. We see...
Yeah, other option is like reduced cooldown on Lornado, but there's going to be one less body, or the regeneration of the gems, which he's only chosen one gem. So it's kind of got to be bottomless flasks, right? Yep, there it is.
I think so, yeah. All right, we see Storm Shield coming in for Karazim. Are we going to see Blinded by the Light as well? So we would have a double AoE shield. No, we see the Indestructible coming in for Johanna now. So Timeless can basically do whatever he wants to in those early stages. Double Valera coming in. Oh, Decker Kane!
Oh wow. My god, the Dragon Arrow followed by the Hive Mind Karazim Valera combo. They don't even bother chasing Muradin. It's time to end the game. KT moving in. Don't even burn the clone for that. They can now use that for this core attempt. KT moving in to even up the series and secure themselves a point. The Contagion, though, is used. Good track by KTY. Storm Shield is used, but is it going to be enough? Lotus is eating all the damage right now. Getting taken down as he gets taken out. But can they take care of the rest?
Can they do that? Karazim, Valera, that's still pretty decent core damage. But look at all the stalling by the two warriors. Attack speed slows. We even have cracks as well. TWT is going to fall, and there's still 40% of a core tetcher.
Valera also is taken out. It's up to Timeless. There's the Clo coming in. Double Johanna on the core.
30.
It's dropping down 30% as they focus him down. Focusing on the real one. The other one is fire. KTY taking out the minion wave hit.
Did he do it?
And Timeless as best he can.
He
and
did
the
it.
Johannas take down the core. And KT takes game number 2.
Oh my goodness, KT did it. They equalized the score with a very decisive core call. At first, I wasn't really sure after seeing Hanzo die so quickly, you know, and the two warriors, Dehaka and Murden, having a little bit of CC to keep the enemies at bay. But then the clone on the least likely target, the Johanna, they made it work like a charm.
Yeah.
KT striking back.
Yeah, don't clone the Hanzo or the Karazim to like race the core that way. Nah, Johanna once everyone's dead. What could go wrong? But either way, well played by KT. Clutch engage at the end.